When morning broke, the prince, cold and controlled once more, reviewed the events of the previous day. His defense of Si Hua before General Runway had been both dangerous and necessary. He had drawn a line, declaring Si Hua his property. His next move had to be calculated, furthering his surveillance while indulging his need to test Si Hua's spirit. In the study, Li Junting deliberately changed his pattern. He no longer simply worked while Si Hua transcribed. Instead, he made his presence demanding and personal. He began requesting that Si Hua read the most complicated, sensitive reports aloud to him. The task forced Si Hua to speak, to use those tempting lips and that gentle voice, allowing Li Junting to watch him uninterrupted. Read this section on the northern provinces. Attendant C. Li Junting commanded one afternoon, resting his chin on his hand, his black eyes fixed on Si Hua. Si Hua, still shaken by the prince's protective outburst toward Runway, obeyed, his voice measured and clear. He focused entirely on the ancient script, refusing to meet the prince's intense gaze. "Look at me when you address the crown," Li Junting suddenly ordered, his tone quiet, but carrying the weight of an executioner's command. Si Hua's hand tightened around the scroll. He knew this was not about court etiquette. It was a psychological test. He slowly raised his eyes, meeting the prince's demanding gaze. And a subtle, unreadable complexity that mirrored the torment in his own soul. He didn't look away, nor did he offer encouragement. He simply compelled the scholar to meet his eyes, allowing the agonizing tension to build, pushing the boundary between master and servant, captor and captive. Si Hua's heart hammered, a frantic drumbeat against his ribs. He saw not the cold, unyielding prince, but the desperate, feverish man from his terrifying dreams, and he was terrified that the prince might read the knowledge of that intimate dream in his own eyes. "Continue," Li Junting finally breathed, his voice a low, husky command, allowing the gaze to drop only when the silence became almost unbearable. He had won the small battle, proving his absolute control over Si Hua's attention. The air in the chamber had grown thick enough to choke a man. The crimson dragon incense didn't just smell sweet. It felt like a physical weight, a shimmering haze that turned the gold-leafed walls of the study into a blurred, golden cage. The fever, Si Hua felt it first. A terrifying heat bloomed in his chest, radiating outward until his fingertips tingled. His vision swam. The ancient characters on the scrolls he was reading began to twist like black snakes. "Your Highness," he gasped, his voice thin and strained. He felt an agonizing urge to shed his skin. His hands, trembling and slick with sweat, gripped the collar of his light blue silk robes, pulling at them desperately. He wasn't just hot. He felt as though he were being consumed from the inside out. The intrusion. A heavy thud echoed as General Wei entered. The man didn't bow with his usual military precision. He lingered at the threshold, his eyes raking over Si Hua's flushed face and exposed, sweat-slicked neck. "The boy looks like he's burning up, Your Highness," Wei said, his voice dropping to a low, predatory rasp. A scholar's constitution is weak. Perhaps I should take him to the courtyard, or to my own quarters, to cool his blood. Si Hua, his mind clouded by the aphrodisiac, saw Wei not as a threat, but as a door to the cold air outside. Yes, Si Hua whimpered, his eyes wide and vacant. Please, help me. He lurched to his feet, stumbling toward the general. Li Junting didn't rise. He exploded. With a roar of out, he sent a heavy jade paperweight shattering against the doorframe. The guards and servants scrambled, terrified by the prince's sudden, feral transition. The heavy doors were slammed shut, and the iron bolt slid home with a final, echoing clack. As Si Hua reached for the door handle, the prince was there. He didn't grab Si Hua's hand. He reached into the mass of the scholar's long, wet hair and yanked. Si Hua's head snapped back, his throat bared to the dim light. You would run to him? The prince hissed, his breath hot against Si Hua's ear. You would let him touch you while you carry my scent? In his delirium, Si Hua struggled, his movements clumsy and frantic. He clawed at his robes, his fingers snagging in the delicate silk strip. The fabric gave way, sliding down his pale, shaking arms. He fell to his knees, his robes pooling around him like a discarded husk, his bare back pressed against the prince's boots. He was weeping now, soft, rhythmic sobs that sounded like a morning lament. The prince lost all reason. He didn't see a servant. He saw a challenge to his soul. He lifted Si Hua bodily and threw him onto the massive, black-clothed bed. The passion was a dark, obsessive storm. Every touch from the prince was a brand, his teeth catching on Si Hua's lips until they were raw and swollen, his hands marking the scholar's pale thighs and slender waist. It was a night of deep, guttural commands and broken, desperate responses. The prince reclaimed every inch of Si Hua, his movements relentless and punishing, yet tinged with a terrifying worship. He wasn't just taking Si Hua. He was trying to merge their very shadows. The prince leaned in closer, his long hair falling like a silken curtain around them, isolating them from the world outside. He didn't care that the court was waiting. He didn't care that Lady Mei Lin was likely spinning a web of vengeance at that very moment.